What's up, our Dub Nation? A little bit late here. Really, really hot day today in the Bay Area, at least where I am. So I had to move everything. And when I moved everything, I had to use my other laptop and just got a little complicated. But we're here, new system. Everything's a little out of whack for me here. It's weird only having one screen. Hello. Yeah. I don't know if you can hear my air conditioner, but there's no way I can turn that off because it's way too hot today. And where I'm at, I'm on the second floor. Heat rises. It tends to like stay up here. So it'll be like, 85 degrees in this room. It's even worse in the living room. The living room's about, because it doesn't have an air conditioner. So yeah, it's about 85 over there. So it's pretty nuts. So later on tonight, we're going to have Danny Emerman of Bay Area News Group. I found out it's not per se San Jose Mercury because Bay Area News Group has several newspapers. As I say that, I need to find my water. Oh, here we go. And so we will have Danny Emerman, who was on the beat in Hawaii with the Warriors, and we'll get a little behind the scenes stuff from him. Maybe talk about some tidbits that he may have seen. You never know. So that'll be interesting to see if he has any interesting behind the scenes aspects to let us know with our, enjoyment of the Warriors, actually. So because there wasn't a game until Wednesday, so Sunday off, Monday off, Tuesday off, we're not going to have this same situation until right before the start of the regular season. We'll have, I think October 19th is a game, I believe, against the Lakers, I think. Let me look it up. Find my Google Calendar. It's on my other phone. Okay. October 18th, Friday. Lakers at Warriors last preseason game. 19th is an off day. 20th is an off day. 21st is an off day. And the 22nd is an off day. So we will probably try to do something similar then with 4 days off. So we had 3 days off right now. So my air conditioner's not on, now on. I'm curious if you can hear it or not. Kimbo in the house, Amy in the house. So what I wanted to do as we sort of get warmed up and anticipate Danny Emerman joining us is catch up on some things. I just put an article up on letsgowarriors.com, and I'm still far behind on all the things I wanted to do. But this is a behind the scenes Warriors Clippers. The link is in the description already. So here's the latest. Put it in the comments. And basically in here, I talk about how I just felt Melton jumped off the page for me because we don't really know Melton, right? We don't really know Kyle Anderson that well, and Buddy Hield, and we know all the rest of the guys pretty well in terms of the regulars, not including two-way guys and training camp guys and, Lindy Waters. So all the guys that came back, I think we kind of know how well they can play. So while everyone was harping on how great Moody played and all that, I mean, I already know what Moody can do. I've seen him play the best that he can play. So, and he played near the best that he can play. But also what I know is that he's been improving his defense, his point of attack defense. And we saw many games last year where our point of attack defense was absolutely subpar, if I'm being nice, using nice words. And one of the guys that was getting beaten was Moses Moody. Now, later on in the season, he would improve a little bit, and then he'd have flashes here and there of staying in front of a guy, basically shuffling his feet and staying in front and applying the right physicality without fouling. But all of us know, if you were on here as a regular throughout 82 games and preseason and the play-in game, it was like the defense left much to be desired, and I can only remember like one or two, maybe three, like you can count them on one hand, how many times I sat there and I told you guys, oh my gosh, that is the championship level team defense we need. And then it would go away, and then we wouldn't see it for a while. I mean, the Podziemski charge to win the game, I think against Portland, was it? I mean, that was one. And then there was I think against Cleveland was another one. The second game against, maybe it wasn't Cleveland. Maybe it was Atlanta. But it was like, oh, yeah, this is the right defense. And then it would go away, and then other things would happen, whether it's, Keon Ellis surprising Steph and shutting him down in the play-in, or, I mean, Draymond was suspended. Clay started hunting shots. The list goes on. Wiggins disappeared and was mercurial, as Bruce likes to say. And that's why this game the other night was like the best defensive effort and execution that I've seen from the team like all year, which is crazy to think about. We saw better defense in one preseason game than we saw for the vast majority of all of last season. So that's something to be excited about. And these notes on Melton are all from the notes I literally took with you guys. So let me update the description to say some of those things. It's a little harder to take notes because I only have one screen here, but so Melton's defense versus Clippers. Warriors team defense being the best we've seen, at least on one hand, throughout 2023-24, all in one preseason game. So that's very exciting. Now, let's take that with a grain of salt. It's one game. It's a preseason game. And it was against the Clippers, who didn't have Kawhi Leonard and who I think might be struggling this season. We shall see. Hard to make predictions when we haven't started the regular season yet, but yeah, I think the Clippers might be in trouble, but it just really is about Kawhi and his health. And then let's see what happens after that. Now, one of the things I mentioned in the website article was that I'm looking at Melton. I'm looking at his basketball reference, which is right here. I had to set this up with Perplexity, but here it is. And Melton was the 46th pick in 2018. 46th. And he started 31 games for Phoenix. I cannot remember what they were going through. And then he only started 8, and then 58 2 years ago for the Sixers, and 33 out of 38 games before getting injured with the Sixers. But like, he's earned his way to be a starter for the Sixers, maybe not the Warriors, but certainly on the Sixers and the kind of the makeup of their lineup, their roster needed him to start a lot of games. But look at the minutes played. So when he was contributing valuably, yeah. Wow, what a weird word. When he was contributing as a valued rotation player, is how I'll say it. It's around 20 minutes per game. And then you go look at Moses Moody. It's like, he's not that far off, considering he had 17 minutes, 18 if you round up, last season, which was his third season. So you compare this with Melton. I think, as it turns out, Melton is the blueprint for Moody. And I know even today, we'll take a look at the Discord, but Melton is the blueprint for Moody. And I'm not worried about Moody not playing. I think he'll play. And again, I want Wiggins to start, because how else will he fit in getting minutes and stuff? That's from a general manager's perspective. Like, as I've said before, I think Mike Dunleavy should tell Steve that we absolutely need to play Wiggins a ton, and we need to. Steve has already said on the podium on Media Day that Wiggins will be featured, so I'm not worried about that. But I'm also not worried about Moody. And I think like the second team will probably be like a small ball unit. You could envision, usually small ball is Draymond at the 5, right? But with Draymond getting older, you don't want to do that too much. That's fine. Kyle Anderson at the 5. Draymond, you can still play 4. We have 5, our 4 and our 5 will be our playmakers. And then you got like Melton, Moody, and Podziemski. You have 3 playmakers and 2 shooters, maybe throw Buddy Hield in there. So the lineup that doesn't have Steph, Wiggins, or Kuminga in it is actually pretty exciting. Melton, so Kyle Anderson will play the 5 against the other small ball second unit, or Draymond can defend their 5. Okay, Kyle can defend the power forward, and then 1, 2, 3, they could. You've got 3 wings out there. I know Podziemski's probably the smallest guy, but like, I think there's plenty of minutes to be had there. So that's all. I said all of this in the article. So go take a read of that, and then we'll move on to Discord. But Melton is the blueprint for Moody. Melton has a 1-year contract. If Melton plays the way he can and the way he did the other night, he's going to go earn another, 12, 15 million somewhere else. We probably can't afford that. And we can afford to pay our own guy to come back like Moody and extend him and just go into the luxury tax with that. But if Moody plays like Melton, if Melton plays like Melton, then he'll make the same or better contract somewhere else next year. If Moody plays like Melton, then we can replace Melton. I mean, it's really not rocket science. So all the people on Twitter that are like, oh, you got to play Moody, you got to play. It's like, what are you worried about? I don't even worry about it. And then today, of course, Steve took the podium and somebody asked him about that. Well, we'll try and figure out who it was. Maybe it was Danny. I don't know, but we'll see. Okay. Let's take a look at the comments. What do you guys got? I know Wiggs is still our best two-way player. The other thing to remember is, like, no matter how good Melton looked, no matter how much he jumped off the page, and here, like I said, I asked Eric G, I go, so how come Melton was the 46th pick, and then along comes Moody, he's the 14th pick, but Moody has problems staying in front of people that he's improving on, but like suddenly the blueprint for Moody is Melton. What the hell happened? And Eric was like, well, the rules have changed over the years. Remember 2018-19, that was still our last Kevin Durant year. So the speed of the NBA still hadn't, come to fruition. I mean, you could argue it was just, this past year, you could argue with the advent of OKC and Boston winning the championship, finally, 5 out. They're certainly going to try and push the ball. But like the Denver Nuggets, they weren't really a small ball, fast break team. So they're the last ones. I mean, we in 2022, okay, we were small ball because we had Otto Porter starting games 4, 5, and 6. So it's like it wasn't really overnight, but anyways, 2018-19 in the draft, you're still looking for guys who can play 3 and D. And so right here, Eric is telling me, yeah, the problem when you're a good defender is that you can end up not having any offense, which is like Gary Payton and Matisse Thybulle. Melton shooting, 30%, 28%, then 40%. Let's see the volume. Yeah, so 41, 37, 39%. That's where you want to be. Cut short a little bit last season at 36, but hey, if you're 36, 37, 38, that's pretty good. We've only got 6 more minutes before Danny hops on, but let's take a look at the Discord. If I can find it. There we go. So this is our Discord. I don't know what this is. Oh, I guess I got to fix the multi-factor. Well, if you are a paid subscriber on our website, it's only $5 a month. And by the way, I haven't really made any announcement on this yet. So you can see everything that I put on here. Now, this is a private channel only for our VIPs who are paid subscribers, but you get all of this in one channel. So it's like a really cool feed. Like, it's better than Twitter, because Twitter, you're always going to have some dude complaining, and then you can see the reply, and it's not even worth, listening to all the kids complain all the time. You also get Let's Go Valkyries, by the way. There's an article on Jess Smith. But anyways, now I haven't figured out how to do the free version, but the free version is probably going to be these ones. These are public channels. Of course, you would need an invite. I don't want anybody just inviting anybody, so I've got to turn all those features off. But like, yeah, you can just go like every day, look at, get notified that, oh, there's something in the Steph channel. And so you go down and you see that, oh, today, well, he said thank you to Hawaii. And he said, celebrated the 16th year with James Harden on Instagram after the game. So as Trace would say, things of that nature. And then these are all just broken up into different, channels. So these ones now, if you're a paid subscriber, this is where you get the behind the scenes feed of everybody that's a really good behind the scenes reporter in the NBA. For example, Sam DiGiovanni, Anthony Slater, Brett Siegel, so you get the feed right to you. You don't even need Twitter anymore. And then the Warriors subset of that would be like, well, I've got to put 95.7 because Whitley Sandretto works there. And she may have tweeted this one from practice today. And, Sam Gordon and Danny Emerman's on there. Although I don't know if he tweeted much today. But, like, obviously there's a lot of Niners news coming out of the local places. But that's what's involved. And here's Vernon Glenn of KPIX, although he did a golf thing. So, like, that's what you get with this Discord channel. And so if we go back to every post that's not divided up into smaller sections, you'll see that they had practice today. And this is post-game Hawaii. So let's go down here a little bit. There's Lindy Waters, and then where's today? If I was trying to kill time, I could just explain all of these, but Danny Emerman will be here already, if not already. And see, the way Discord does it is it automatically like just embeds the video. So you can see like a pan shot, pans around. Then you can see like Wiggins, and this is also panning around. Then you can see more Wiggins. This is so obvious to me. It's much better than Twitter itself. And then these are the practice notes. There's Danny Emerman, but so Wiggins practiced today, but did not take part in the live action portion. And he will not play on Wednesday. And this is pretty normal for the Warriors because we've seen how cautious they are with injuries and stuff. And in Wiggins' case, he was just sick. Maybe we can get some more insight from Danny Emerman, but we'll see. And then the discussion talked about Kuminga, and if guys separate themselves like Steph did in year 4 of his career, then that's where you start seeing 35 minutes. And then, of course, they had to talk about Moody. So someone asked about Moody, and then it's a numbers game, and then all the kids on Twitter threw Steve under the bus right about at that point when that got tweeted out. So let's see.
The only thing any of these guys can do is go out and have a great camp and make it really hard on us as decision makers. And Moses having a great camp. And
yeah, so nothing new there. And, Steve doesn't go on the podium going, oh, what should I, how should I sugarcoat this? And he's worried about coaching. So he doesn't go on the podium like, actually, they should hire me as their another PR guy to go, because Raymond, that's Raymond's job, right? But Raymond isn't following all the kids that I follow. I follow a lot of kids on Twitter, so I know who they're making fun of, who they're throwing under the bus, and all of that. So I'd be able to tell them that, hey, look, if you get asked about Moody, maybe you just want to say what I said in this article, which is don't worry about it. This is a long season. And if the finals started tomorrow, I'm sorry, I'm starting Melton. not starting. I'm starting Wiggs because I need to increase his value of his contract. Like we should permanently have Hoops Hype up here. Hoopshype.com, Warrior salaries. Here it is. Again, like if other GMs don't think Wiggins is worth even close to 26 million, then we are truly stuck. So that's why I want Wiggins to play a lot, and I want him to have a great year so that, he can be a trade chip if necessary, or we'll just keep him and let him be the 2022 version of Wiggins. And so that's where we are. So we've got Danny Emerman coming on soon. He's just fixing his technical difficulties, but good to have you, Bruce. What's up? Oh, yeah, the storms. Hope you guys are all right. Cool. You can't hear my air conditioner. Amazing. Oh, yeah. If Kawhi can, even if they do, I just, they're going to be so exhausted. They were so exhausted by the time they lost in the playoffs last season. Did you see Paul George and James Harden in that series? It's just like, your turn, oh, my turn. Oh, I don't want the ball, actually. Your turn. Like Paul George was deferring a lot. Like I thought they were tired. And as Bruce has made his opinion known, I mean, Kawhi Leonard could be a Warrior next offseason, or maybe even by the trade deadline. You never know, right? But like the reason why is because the Clippers might be a burning airplane. So any franchise that has the potential to be a burning airplane and they have like a perennial all-star on their team, then automatically Lacob will want the Warriors to be in those rumors, in other words. So that's why Bruce says, hey, he jokes that Kawhi could be a Warrior. And so, yeah. All right. Well, we got Danny Emerman ready to come on board. All right, Danny, you ready? Let's bring him on board. Danny Emerman, everybody. Let's go.
Hey, Rich.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. My laptop isn't working, so I had to use my phone. I'm sure you did a great job filibustering, though.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Technical difficulties is like par for the course around here. So good to have you. Yeah, what I like to do is I just kind of want to keep it like a conversation. So how are you feeling, man? You just went to Hawaii for a week to cover the Warriors.
Yeah, man. Always happy to talk ball. Spent most of the week in Hawaii. From the moment I got there till the moment I got on the plane to head home, I felt so lucky. I've been doing this job for a few years now, and it's such a privilege to get to do something like that, to go to Hawaii and cover the Golden State Warriors and have my company support me, through it all. I actually didn't get to stay for the game, which was unfortunate, but spent the week in practice, talking to some guys, all the interviews, do some reporting, getting some bigger projects done that I'm excited about. And Hawaii is great. I love Hawaii. I always tell my friends that, when I retire, I want to move out to Hawaii and cover the local teams, cover the U for the local paper. I think that would be a pretty sweet retirement.
Do you have like ties in Hawaii?
No, I've just been there a couple times on vacation, and it's hard not to love it,
Yeah, thanks. Let me check that screenshot I just took. That's not bad. Actually, let's do it right. Okay. So that I can do a little bit of marketing here and there. Let's ready to smile. Ready, 1, 2, 3. All right, cool. So, all right. So Hawaii, what was it like? I like to, because I used to go out on road trips as well. So it's really an adventure sometimes. And you're right. It's like, you feel very grateful sometimes of just how lucky you are to witness this, and especially a guy as all time as Steph Curry. So what was it like for you in terms of just logistics wise, just getting around? Because I guess they stayed at Turtle Bay, so that's like North Shore. So you gotta drive over there and all of that. What were the logistics like, and what do you remember about it?
Yeah, I was one of the reporters who stayed in Waikiki, which is like
Gotcha.
downtown Honolulu. A few reporters stayed up in Turtle Bay, like on the BYU campus, but I was where more of the action was. So I drove up to North Shore, Turtle Bay every morning. It was about an hour each way. And then, practice opens and you get to see the tail end of practice, which is essentially everybody just shooting around.
Right.
When you walk into a practice like that, the first thing that you as a reporter look for is who's there, and more importantly, who's not. Every single time we walked in, we saw Andrew Wiggins was either sitting down on the bench with a mask or getting some shots up with a mask on. We knew pretty shortly thereafter that he wasn't practicing. And you don't get to see much of practice. You get to hear about it from Steve and from the players. Like we heard that one day that Kevon Looney hit the game-winning shot, and that's the kind of detail that you pick up and kind of take note of. But it's training camp, and there's a lot of things that these guys are going through in terms of picking up new plays, new installations, new terminology, and you can kind of ask them about that, but they probably don't really want to share too much in detail about that kind of thing, about which new plays they're running and what they're called. For obvious reasons, they're probably not going to share too much about that, but it is interesting. I think we were talking to Kyle Anderson, and he's one of the smartest players in the league. He's a super high basketball IQ, and I think he's going to fit really well on this team. I wrote that in my Sunday column yesterday. But one thing he said was, his head was spinning at all the new stuff that they were doing, and that kind of took me by surprise because it was like 3-4 days into it. And that he would admit something like that, him being a veteran, this is his 10th season. I thought that is something to take note of. And I said, really? Like, is it really that different than other training camps? And he said, every training camp is a little bit different, but he's joining a new team, which he has done in the past, but he's joining a new team, so that there's always a little bit more that comes with it. But it's pretty clear that the Warriors have a pretty long to-do list this offseason and this training camp, and a pretty finite amount of time to get through it.
Yeah, that is interesting. I like that stuff too. Those little tidbits that you can kind of clue in on. And I actually remember when I was watching the Kyle Anderson video. I mean, it's all just, there's so much content that it's hard to remember specific things until you bring them up. But yeah, and I remember like hearing your voice asking them questions and stuff, and I wonder if it's like Kyle Anderson had a certain expectation. I mean, most of the guys, and they've told you guys who are there that like maybe like Buddy Hield or DeAnthony Melton will say, oh, I mean, we played against the Warriors, so we know what they do. So it's like Kyle Anderson knew what to expect coming here, and yet there's more stuff, and especially with Steve hiring Terry Stotts. So yeah, it's gonna. I like it. It's kind of like new wrinkles, and you're already kind of seeing how much better the defense is, and then defense leads to transition. Steve's talked about that with you guys, so I think that's that's like a breath of fresh air for the Warriors.
I mean, I don't know if we've already seen it. We've seen one preseason game in
Right.
Hawaii. We'll see. That's the other thing about training camp is, every team wants to play better defense. Every team wants to get out and run. Every team wants to shoot more threes. These are all on the to-do list for the Warriors. So if they do it in the preseason, great. But what will really matter is if they're doing it game 1, game 10, game 65.
Yeah, that's right. Anything else from Hawaii that you just maybe have noticed, I guess behind the scenes that might not have been, reported?
Yeah, that's a good question. Something that might not have been reported. I'll give you one other nugget that stood out to me is that Buddy Hield, loves watching Steph. He loves watching Steph shoot. He's been a fan of the way the Warriors play for a long time. Obviously, he's a fantastic shooter. All the stats, second only behind Steph in the past however many years in three-pointers made. But
Yeah.
he wants to change his shot to like emulate Steph. He wants to have more arc on his shot.
Yeah.
And this is a career 40% shooter on the dot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of
that was great for
that was
you
kind
to
of interesting. If
That
I
was
was Buddy Hield, I wouldn't do much to change my jump shot.
Yeah. That's one thing I forgot to
But-
like in the game, or even like look up on YouTube highlights, was his shot really that flat? I don't know. Have you been able to check that out at all?
His shot is very flat, like historically notoriously flat, but it goes in.
Cool. Yeah.
It's not a problem if it goes in.
Yeah.
And it's very different than Steph. There's.
Yeah, I didn't even know that until I heard him say it. Because with the Warriors, we're just always hardly ever got to see Buddy, twice a year, if that. So it's kind of cool to get a guy from the Eastern Conference that you hardly ever get to see. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go check out that flat shot. So were you at practice today?
No, I actually had the off day today, so I didn't make it.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't tweeting so much.
How was yeah, that explains it. But how was like media day? And by the way, how long have you been on the beat for the Warriors?
Since last February, late February, I hopped on the beat. I picked up from where our former writer left off.
Right. I think it was like first Madeline left, and then Shayna took her spot, right? And then
Yes.
Shayna went to write about baseball.
That's right.
All right, cool. Yeah, good to have you. So tell us about being on the beat, like not only at Chase Center, but also on the road.
Mm-hmm.
That can be very draining.
Yeah, it can be. It can be more draining than I probably thought. This is my first basketball beat. It's something that I grew up wanting to do. Covering the NBA is my dream job, and it was definitely more travel, more strenuous than I anticipated. I covered baseball before this.
Oh, cool.
And I didn't travel as much covering baseball than I will with this current position. So it might be tough, but it'll take an adjustment. And again, kind of like how we started this conversation, it's really hard to complain when someone like myself gets to do, his dream job. And yeah, there's a lot of 4 a.m. wake ups for Delta flights that connect in Houston to go to Memphis or whatever on a back-to-back. But that's okay. I'll look back on this time, later in my life and really think about how crazy it was, I'm sure, to cover this team and to do what I always wanted to do.
Yeah, tell us about that a little bit. Like, where did you go to school, and then where else were you writing and things like that? Yeah,
I grew up in the Boston area, reading the Boston Globe, kind of like everyone else does. It's in the culture there. And, I fell in love with sports journalism. What'd you say?
I don't detect the Boston accent, though.
No,
Okay.
most people from my town don't have one, which is funny. Like, you go to the next town over and they have them, and
really
kind of silly. But yeah, so I went to Syracuse University, studied journalism.
Dude, everyone is from Syracuse. Like Mark Medina and probably Jason Duma. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's a great school. It feels like every guy who goes to Syracuse and studies journalism wants to be a sports broadcaster or a sports writer. So it's kind of a funny dynamic, and people take themselves very seriously, which they should. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a very competitive industry, but it's a funny ecosystem over there at Syracuse, and it's worked out for a lot of people. So you really can't knock it. But that's where I learned, how to cover a team, how to report, how to tell stories, structure them, and I learned that writing for the student paper at Syracuse. And that's where I really fell in love with the craft of journalism. Afterwards, I graduated and I moved out here in 2021 to cover the San Francisco Giants in the middle of their 107-win season, which was a great experience, hopping on that beat midway through that season and sticking on it for a couple more afterwards. And now I'm here. So I love the Bay Area. I really do, even though I'm not from here originally. It's a really special place, and I've really, really taken to it. I feel like I have a really great and privileged life over here.
Yeah. Where in the Bay are you?
San Francisco.
Oh, good for you. And when you were a Giants beat writer, which publication was that with?
KNBR.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So that's where I can see the John Dickinson connection, I guess.
Yeah, JD is a great guy.
Okay. So yeah, welcome to the Bay, although you've been here for a few years.
Thank you.
What from I wanted to ask you, like, let's catch up on, what other things you might have seen at Media Day that intrigues you that might impact the Warriors season coming up. And then I kind of want to ask you about like expectations for this year, not just for the team, but like just for you too. Like, we'll get into that. Can you recap Media Day a little bit for us?
Sure. Yeah. First of all, I was listening to your show right before I came on. You really don't think Moody is going to be an issue? You don't think that Steve's going to have a hard time finding minutes for Moody?
I guess it's less that I'm just not as worried about it. But we'll see. I mean, it's kind of hard to predict. And we've only had one preseason game. So, I mean, I know I'm in the minority on that. I just kind of like things will work itself out. I don't really do the outrage thing. So if Moody doesn't play, then it's like, I mean, I used to coach at an amateur level, and it's just, I have the utmost respect for any coach at any level of all the egos that they have to deal with and the different personal goals that are intertwined and things like that. So I trust that they're going to figure out a way to integrate Moody on a more regular basis. But I always just kind of go back to, like, right now, if the finals started tomorrow or the playoffs started tomorrow, I would have Melton ahead of Moody on the depth chart. But
Yeah.
Something happens, Melton has a bad game, and it's game 7. I might just go ahead with Moody, leapfrogging him. You never know. So, I think Steve will find a way to get Moody some minutes. What are you sensing out there?
I think your answer was interesting. I think, generally I believe with you. The job of coaching a basketball team is not easy. In the case of Moody, when you talk about ego and all the personalities that coach has to balance, there's part of me that thinks that Moody's personality has hurt him. He's so willing to play his role. He's deferential and not going to have an issue when he gets benched.
Good point.
Meanwhile, other players might not. They might have an issue if they got benched and lost minutes. And Moody, if you just look at the way he's played, he's deserved more of a chance. I kind of look at it a little bit. I don't know if you follow the Giants, but I look at it a little bit like how the Giants treated Elliot Ramos last year. He's their homegrown prospect who, maybe he's not ready.
Yeah.
He hasn't been great at AAA. Yeah. But they're signing guys like off the waiver wire to play over him. Like they're not even going to see what he's got.
Yeah.
And they finally clear space for him this year. Like the Warriors have said they wanted to clear minutes for Moody, and Ellie Ramos is an all-star. And sometimes you have to play the product, the prospect to find out what you have in them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I also think that the whole Klay Thompson situation last year really complicated things. So, and also, I guess I am a bit surprised of the, like Rich Paul is Moody's agent, and he's pretty much kept quiet. So, but maybe he's just, I don't know how they operate. I don't know how to be an agent. So, so it's all very interesting, but we'll see how it plays out. Yeah, it'll be one of the interesting storylines as we go. But that's a good point that his personality might hurt. In the same vein, I think sometimes Steve is so honest with media, but I think that he really likes being with you guys on a personal basis. But then he forgets that anything that's told there gets blasted out to the world. So if he's honest with you guys, then he's being too honest and being leaving himself open to extra criticism when he shares all that stuff. Whatever.
That's a funny point. That's a funny point. I do think Steve is very honest and candid with the media.
Like the Moody question today, So it's like, sometimes I do wish it would be more Popovich up there. But
yeah, I wouldn't say that Steve doesn't know or forgets that it's going out into the internet. Steve's someone who's been in front of cameras for the last 40 years.
Yeah,
he knows the game. But I do think it's interesting that he often doesn't really play the game with the media.
Yeah.
I think he's very honest, and we appreciate that generally.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate that always, but I think he's generally pretty honest. And I guess one instance, if we're on that topic of maybe playing the game a little bit, was the Wiggins thing at Media Day. Talking of Wiggins, thinking he's primed to have a big year. He came into camp looking great. We think he can be the 2022 version again. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but
right.
I think that might be an example of, they know this is going to get back to him. They want to instill confidence. They want him to know, after a summer where they probably tried to trade him, they want to do whatever they can to let him know that they're still in his corner. I don't know how successful, productive that kind of strategy is. I'm sure they've had conversations with him one-on-one, not in front of cameras as well. So I'm not saying it's the only course of action they've taken, but I'm curious to know if that is the type of thing that actually works. And I'm sure it's different on a case-to-case basis with any different player.
Yeah, did you see anything like with Wiggs? Because I found a clip where he was like outside in the parking lot, and he didn't even look sick, honestly. So I mean, he has been sick, so he hasn't practiced, and then to get back in the practice, the Warriors training staff are pretty regimented with that. So it'll be a slow process back, but I tend to think that Wiggins looks like, I mean, if Game 7 were tomorrow, good to go, that kind of thing.
I imagine that's the case. I did see Wiggins shooting, and his shot looked great.
Yeah.
I think he hit 6 or 7 shots in a row. Almost all of them were swishes. This is, again, empty gym. He's got a rebounder. Nobody's guarding him. He's got a mask on, but so take that for what it's worth. But the shot looked good. He looks skinny. I'm not sure if that is by design, if that is the type of shape the Warriors want him in. I know that they want him to have a huge role. They want him to both guard the other team's best wing player, which is not easy a lot of the time, and they want him to score 15 to 18 to 20 points a game. That's a lot to ask. Mm-hmm. And listen, if he can do that, then that solves a lot of things for the Warriors. If he can't, then I think the Warriors will have to adjust pretty quickly in one way or another. But I don't think they can let what happened last year where he's struggling. We think he's going to turn around. We think he's going to revert to what he used to be like. You know, he'll regress to the mean, and it just never happened. I don't think they can do that this year.
Did you sense anything since last February? I mean, now that we know, I mean, his dad passed away, RIP, but do you ever look back and think maybe like he was just kind of out of it mentally, or maybe looked despondent in the locker room? Who knows? I don't know. I don't know what's kosher to say either, but did you sense anything?
No, not particularly. You know, I get the sense that Wiggins' teammates really like him and they really care for him. I think from what I've gathered, I think that's been the case everywhere he's been. He's not had the kind of career you would expect from a number 1 overall pick. And I think a lot of players in the league might empathize or resonate with that. I think they see him playing all the time and really take note of that and respect that. He's a guy who's played 82 games, 80 games a bunch of times in his career. He plays through injuries. He posts, he guards. When he's locked in, he plays really, really hard defense. But when you talk about his maybe his composure or the way he's behaving, I wouldn't say in the locker room anything is out of the ordinary. But, it's Andrew Wiggins. Like, the whole knock of him in his career is like he floats through games sometimes. And that was definitely clear last year. It didn't seem like he was, Warriors fans, everyone watching the stream has seen Andrew Wiggins playing at 100% and locked in and being aggressive and playing within a system and doing all the things that Andrew Wiggins at his best does. And that was not the case pretty much at any point last season.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, so looking ahead to this season, and we haven't even reached 1 of 82, like, preseason still, but like is there anything you might be looking forward to coming up? I know it's logistically a nightmare to get all the flights and hotels in a line and your ducks in a row, but then also the All-Star weekend is in San Francisco, so there's that, and then you've got these interesting back-to-back type games against the same team because of the Emirates Cup, the NBA Cup. So what are you kind of looking forward to, just as Danny Emerman, beat writer, in terms of like just the whole season, just from your perspective?
I'll tell you what, I'm definitely not excited for All-Star Weekend in Chase Center. That's usually when you'd get a little bit of a break, a couple days off, but that's all right. Again, not going to complain. I'm really excited to go to Boston. That's early in the season. I'll get to stay with my parents and hang out with them and see my dog. I'm excited for going that trip to LA. It's going to be cool seeing the new Intuit Dome. I'm really excited for. I don't think the Clippers are going to be any good this year, but seeing that new arena is going to be interesting. It's supposed to be cutting edge, different vibe in there. There's that first 2 weeks in December from a Warriors perspective is what I'm really interested in. If they can get through that stretch, at 500, 2-3 games above 500, everybody's healthy and available. Available is the key word there. I think that would be a big sign. That's the stretch where they play Denver, Houston, Minnesota back to back. Those are, and then Phoenix too. Those are all good opponents, all teams that are going to be fighting for playoff spots. And they're all going to be tense games. They're going to be games with Rudy Gobert. They're going to be games with Dylan Brooks. They're going to be games with Yusuf Nurkic. These are teams that have given Draymond Green and the Warriors issues in the past, especially last year. So if they can get through that stretch without incident, I think that would be a good sign for Golden State. And that's the first First week in December and the last game of November.
Cool. Yeah. I hadn't looked through the schedule in that amount of detail just yet, but it's good to know that that's coming up. So thanks for the heads up.
Yeah.
So and Boston. So I guess last season when you hopped on the beat in February, the Warriors had already gone to Boston.
They had that. Yeah, they had that massacre, right?
Yeah, the massacre. Yeah, exactly. The Jaylen Brown diss, and then paid for letting him shoot that one. But yeah,
it's gonna be it's gonna be a real rivalry this year. I've already heard from people within the organization that game is circled on the calendar, or at least that they expect the Celtics to have that one circled, with Jaylen getting left off the Olympic team and Tatum getting benched by Steve. They have the history from the finals. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, and have you actually been to TD Garden out there?
I have, but not as a journalist. So that'll be a new experience, and definitely looking forward to it. That'll be a cool full circle moment. You know, I grew up going to games there with my dad and with my brother. So it'll definitely be cool. You know, I'm not a fan anymore. When you put on your journalist cap, you kind of lose your fandom to be objective. And you know, when the Warriors and Celtics played, I wasn't covering the team full time, but I didn't really care who won. But it ended up as a great, you know, outcome for me, because there was a parade in San Francisco. The city was happy. You know, I got to cover the parade, which was really cool. And then the Celtics ended up winning a couple years later. So no problems.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, TD Garden is a bit of a maze for media, and go here,
Really?
go. It's like, what are these, like secret corridors or something? Like it's the most weird setup in the NBA. So be sure to, you know, follow JD John Dickinson.
Yes.
Up there. But yeah, well, I don't want to keep you on too long, but thanks for coming on here. And if you have any other other things you wanted to let us know about, let us know about it. By the way, we can reach you at on Twitter, Danny Emerman, all one word, right? We've got a fan.
That's right.
I highlighted his comment. Loves your articles already. Got you on the on the notifications on your Bay Area News Group articles. So
thank you very much. My number one fan.
And he actually asked you about New York. So we'll leave with that one particular commenter getting to ask you a question. So what do you feel about New York?
New York. I love the trade for Cat. I think it elevates their ceiling. I think they're going to be a really good regular season team, but with a Tibbs coach team and with how thin they are, I think there's always going to be concerns over overplaying players. Maybe you could talk to the doctor coming on after me about that. But when you're relying on like OG Anunoby to stay healthy through March, April, May, June, that's gonna be tricky. And Tibbs is gonna play everyone 38, 40 minutes a game. But I really love their offseason. I love when you have an MVP candidate in Jalen Brunson and guys who like playing with him. And when you have that nucleus, I love going all in. I love making a big swing. Did not like the move for Minnesota, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, we tend to think that trade actually worked out well for the Warriors in terms of matchups. What do you think?
I think so too. Yeah, I think that checks out. You know, Minnesota is still going to be tough. Naz Reid's going to play a little bit more, and he's always given the Warriors trouble. But yeah, I mean, shooting bigs have been tough for the Warriors to guard.
Absolutely.
You know, the spacing with Randall and Gobert and Ant, it's going to be clunky. They're going to be relying on Mike Conley, who's 38 years old. And I do think they got worse. I don't think they got worse than the Warriors, but I think those games will be a little bit more competitive. Timberwolves kind of spanked them last year.
Yeah. Well, the whole West is a gauntlet, so we'll see what happens. I'm telling my audience, just take it game by game. Don't worry about the standings. We'll figure that out as we go. And yeah, it's certainly tough to, when you look at last year's standings and you're like, all right, so who in the top 6 is going to drop out so that the Warriors might be able to get in? And those are tough questions to answer. So, but appreciate you spending the time to come here, hop on, and introduce yourself to us and tell us about your beat. So can't thank you enough on that, and just wish you the best. Make sure you get plenty of rest and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me on, Rich. I'm always happy to talk ball. Thank you to everyone who's watching, especially my biggest fan. I've got a big story coming out this week about Jonathan Kuminga I'm excited about, and Sunday Dimes column every Sunday, Mercury News. So
Sunday Dimes, is it called?
That's right.
All right, cool. Let me put that in the notes. Taking notes. All right, thanks, Danny.
All right, thanks, guys.
So you'll be there Wednesday, right, at the game? Oh, okay. We'll just assume he will be. And Dr. Pandya is in the green room. Thanks for waiting. Hope you didn't wait too long. There he is.
No problem at all. Hey guys, how you doing? Good to see you.
Great. This is Dr. Pandya. We've had you on one time before, but he's the man that everybody goes to when there's questions about injuries to any of the Bay Area athletes. So it's an honor to have you.
Oh, thanks for having me. Anytime. Love coming on.
Yeah. Hey, Doc. Yeah. So, was it called Danny Dimes? I don't know. Maybe that was a new name that Aegis came up with. But yeah, I'm gonna have to check out his articles. Sunday Dimes. All right, Doctor. So far so good. The only injury is Wiggins got sick. And he'll be on his way back. You've been covering the Warriors among other Bay Area teams as well for a few years now. I'm sure it's kind of like you kind of know them like the back of your hand, I would expect. So it's like, I don't expect you to be like the actual Warriors trainer. You're not Rick Celebrini that I'm interviewing. But when can we expect Wiggins back, given that this is an illness that he had and that he's not going to play Wednesday? Steve already said that on the podium today. So he's going through, what process is he going through right now, Doctor?
Yeah, usually for most of these kind of respiratory viruses we're seeing kind of this time of year, usually it's about 10 to 14 days it takes for things to kind of clear up. And, honestly, if this was the playoffs, was an important regular season game, you can push a player, with various treatments. But I think at this point of the year, you want him to be physically ready. And, if his lungs are feeling off or whatever may be impacting him, then it's going to impact his body as well, too. So I think a lot of this, you're just going to take it slow with him. He clearly is a veteran. It sounds like he's ready to go for the season. So I'm not worried about him, when the regular season starts. Potentially could he, play a bigger role later in the week if there are some games? Absolutely. But you're honestly just taking it from the athlete and saying, how are you feeling? Are you having trouble breathing? Can you perform? Because honestly, at his level, if you're going out there and having him push through, 10, 15 minutes, what purpose is it really serving anybody? So I think a lot of it is, he's a veteran. Let's make sure he's 100% so nothing lingers in the season. And, with some athletes, they have a cold, they have a cough, they have something, and then they land wrong. Their muscles aren't feeling right. And you just don't want anything to happen to him because, as we all know, this is a big season for him. And I think there are a lot of expectations. And doctor aside, I think Wiggins really is the key in terms of, a big portion of how this season will turn out for the Warriors.
Yes, I agree with you on that one. And okay, so when I was talking to Kyle Anderson's trainer a couple weeks ago, he mentioned that Slowmo, Kyle, had like a shoulder, he called it a shoulder/nerve issue. So I went to go look it up, and I'll let you give us the terminology because I'm just going to butcher it. When I went to research it, lo and behold, they interviewed you back in 2019, 5 years ago. The Athletic interviewed Dr. Pandya here to talk about Kyle Anderson's shoulder/nerve injury. So can you just recap that for us, and then we'll get into Kyle Anderson 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the condition that he had surgery for, and the one other NBA player that people kind of associate with this is Markelle Fultz, something called thoracic outlet syndrome. It's a big fancy term for basically, you've basically got this region between your neck and your shoulder, and there are a bunch of nerves and blood vessels that run there. And in some athletes, what ends up happening is that you get compression of these areas. So whether it's a muscle that's compressing it, sometimes it's, one of your ribs that's compressing it. Basically what happens, athletes will get pain. Sometimes they'll get numbness and tingling in their arm. Sometimes they'll get kind of cool feelings in terms of temperature. So it really is one of those things where an athlete comes in, they may say their shoulder's hurting, then they're saying, I got weird numbness, tingling in their fingers. And then you kind of do some more testing and you say, hey, something's actually compressing this area. And essentially what you do during surgery is you basically relieve that compression. So that can mean releasing a muscle, getting rid of part of that rib. And it's very successful in terms of getting athletes better. The funny thing about NBA players is that you usually see this in baseball players. It's very common from repetitive throwing where you just keep throwing and throwing and throwing, and eventually muscles get tight or kind of ribs start pushing on things. Very rare in basketball players, but once you relieve that compression, it does really well. And, Kyle Anderson's case is a little bit different in the sense that, his early return when he was playing those first couple of games, he was still having some pain and soreness, but then things kind of started to normalize out. So if you want to think of it for the audience, it's something's pushing on your nerves and blood vessels and between your neck and your shoulder, and the surgery basically relieves it. And it's pretty rare in basketball players.
Wow, that's interesting. And by the way, audience, if you guys have any questions for Dr. Pandya, just go ahead and ask, and we'll fit it in. But so should we have any concern whatsoever of Kyle Anderson still feeling the effects of an injury, of a surgery from 5 years ago?
Usually not. I think that where you get worried about this is potentially the first year or two afterwards. You're still got some weakness, you're recovering from a surgery. Sometimes it can take a while, particularly if nerves are getting kind of pushed on for them to kind of recover. But at this point now, when you're 5 years out, I would not expect this to be an issue at all for him. And sometimes people ask, well, if you've got it on one side, can it happen on the other side? Typically not. It's usually just on one side. So I think we're definitely in the clear for him not having issues with this at all. But it is interesting. He's one of the few NBA players who's had this and has recovered successfully from it.
And we've got this question in the comments. Cholo's asking if you happen to know, is that why Fultz lost his shooting? I don't know too much about Fultz, but maybe Cholo does. What can you say about that?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. So when he came into the league, everyone was wondering why couldn't he shoot? What was going on with his free throws? He was shooting such a low percentage, and everyone was like, "Oh, is this something mental? What's going on?" And yeah, absolutely. I think that's what they thought was going on, and it's a hard thing to describe because you can say I can't feel my hand. It feels weird. It's like tingly. My hand's feeling cold. You can imagine shooting a basketball like that. But it's not like you've had an injury. So absolutely, I think that's what they felt was impacting him, and he's clearly recovered. So it is kind of this mysterious diagnosis. It takes a while for people to kind of come to, but once you find it, it's like with these two players, successful in getting them back to the level that they were before.
Yeah. And for us, general crowd, for us, it's playing basketball for fun. Is there anything we need to worry about that? Make sure, what do you think was maybe the cause of that for Kyle in particular? Did he sleep wrong or something?
No, I think with the basketball players not doing repetitive stuff say a pitcher where you see it all the time. Part of it's just genetic chance. Your muscles are set up a certain way, your nerves and blood vessels run kind of in a certain way relative to your ribs. So You just happen, if he wasn't playing basketball, he probably would never know he had this. But if you have just a little bit of difference in how your muscles are set up and you're shooting the ball a lot, it's going to impact you. So I think for the everyday person, it's nothing you can do to prevent it from happening unless you decide for some reason on the weekends to throw a baseball 500 times every Saturday or Sunday. I don't think it's going to be an issue in terms of the regular everyday weekend athlete having to worry about it.
Cool. That's interesting. All right. Now I'm just looking ahead to the season. We've got a Kyle question. Kyle recovers. Yeah, I guess Cholo's question is, did it make Slowmo even more Slowmo?
Yeah.
I think that's a valid question, actually. Do you think the thoracic, what's it called?
Thoracic outlet, syndrome. Yeah,
Thoracic
I mean
outlet.
Yeah. Honestly, like all joking aside, I mean, I think that if you are kind of, obviously he's a couple of years out from the surgery, but you can imagine if you're running around the basketball court and the way you're running or moving is causing your hand to hurt, or you're getting tingling, or it's like making you lose circulation, you may walk around the court a little bit differently, or kind of move around. So maybe initially it may have led to his, quote unquote, slow movements, but I think now it's maybe just the way he is. I like to say he is mechanically smooth. That's what I like to say.
All right. I did want to ask you while we had you on is looking ahead to the season, and this, I must admit, is from all the Moses Moody talk today. Steve was at practice, and he happened to be asked about Moses, and gave an answer which was it's just kind of a numbers issue, as he usually answers those questions. And I started thinking, really it comes down to the ebbs and flows of a season, which include injuries. Hate to say it, knock on wood, but it's gonna happen. And I started thinking, I wonder if Dr. Pandya has kind of a, by now, he's been doing this for at least 5 years. How many years have you been advising on sports?
It's probably been, since it was right around Clay's Achilles. So it's been about 5 years or so. Yeah, it's been about 5 years. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not like you can put a number on it and say, oh, there's going to be X number of injuries, so yeah, Moody should get a chance. That's kind of a very weird way of saying it. But then again, if we're being realistic, there's probably going to be an injury here or there. Over the years, these 5 years, maybe more, have you kind of gotten a sense of, like, I honestly want to say, how many injuries per team per year? Can you put a number on it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in general, when we look at, star players with load management and, kind of players over their 30s, you can pretty much expect, like, we think of someone like Draymond and kind of Steph, you're kind of looking at maybe, 60, 65 games, like they're going to miss their 15 to 20 during the regular season. You're going to have other players miss time, particularly with some of the older players, an ankle here, ankle there, quad, things like that. So I think that if you're looking for where Moody can get minutes in, you got to anticipate that Steph and Draymond are going to miss some time, are going to get some load management. You're going to get some of the injuries with some of the other players. And Kuminga, that's another player as well, too. He plays so explosively, and he's had, issues with his knees, with patellar tendinitis that they reported last year. So I think there will be opportunities for him to play. And I think the other kind of blessing in disguise, with Moody, is that for his time in the league, he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on him. And I think that's a benefit that could potentially get him more minutes while the other players are kind of down, is that you're not getting a young player who's played a lot of minutes. Like, I worry about someone like Pods, who's played a lot of minutes last year in his first season, which is a big jump up from college. And are you going to see someone in his sophomore year have issues? And, TJD missed some time as well, too. So I think the opportunities for Moody to play will be there. The tough thing is it going to be consistent, right? He plays for 15 games straight, and then whoever comes back and he goes back to the bench, and then he's waiting for someone else to miss time. So if he can, if a couple people kind of line up and he gets an extended period of time, maybe then he'll finally get that push in the lineup. But I do think there will be periods of time, both for the very young players as well as the older players, missing time just because of what they experienced last year and what they've experienced in their entire careers.
Awesome. we're gonna do a screenshot real quick so I can just, you know, brag about this later on Instagram or something. Ready to smile? 1, 2, 3.
I'm ready.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Boy, I had another question for you, but then I started thinking too much about the screenshot, so I lost my train of thought. Okay, so like, I guess it's more along the lines of when you see the Warriors, the way they handle injuries and guys coming back, the way we've seen Steph come back, whether it's for the regular season or it might even be for the playoffs. Like, do you kind of get a sense of their protocol, and would you say that it's like conservative perhaps, or normal, or how would you describe the Warriors training staff in terms of handling injuries and getting them back? It always seems like you got to start with the, you know, sooner or later someone will get injured and it'll be the, okay, has he done the 3-on-3? And then, oh, well, stuff before that, then has he done the 3-on-3? Then it'll be 5-on-5, and then he'll be cleared for contact, and it has to be 100%. And it always feels like, as a fan, that it's taking so long and all of that. But is it really taking long? Because now we've got an actual doctor here who can tell us.
Yeah. I think they're doing it the right way. You know, compared to other NBA teams who will sometimes sacrifice their athletes to get them back. I think Rick Celebrini and their training staff they're doing it the way that we would do it for any other athlete that we see in our clinic. And I think the one of the amazing things about the Warriors is that, yes, they'll get injuries, but you don't see players getting repeat injuries. You know, they come back, they get them in, and they're kind of slowly going back in the right way. And I think it's not even just like when they're cleared to go back, but it's how they're managing when they get back as well too. Go back to back. So we're going to have you come off the bench. We're going to play these minutes. So I think that's a really testament to their training staff. They're very science-based from things that I've heard. And I think they've done a great job. And I think, you know, we look back, and obviously Klay Thompson's not here, you know, with the team anymore, but the way that they were able to manage getting someone back who missed that much time off of 2 major injuries, I mean, I think that speaks volumes, you know, regardless of whatever his performance was last year, what people think about it. Like, he came back off of injuries that most people had not come back from and contributed. So I think the proof's there. They're very good. And is it conservative? Probably so. But I think it means that they're getting their athletes back from injury and they're back, not, you know, kind of jumping off and on the injured list, which is great.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you on for too long, so I really appreciate that. But how about just for kicks, what were you thinking when you saw Embiid limping back to play some playoff games last playoff?
Oh, man. I mean, I think having, you know, watched basketball for a long time, I think we just assume now in this era of basketball that people that big can do things like a point guard or shooting guard used to do. And, you know, the skill has changed, how they train has changed, but a meniscus, a ligament, those haven't evolved that much. So I think that when you see these players doing what they do, you just worry, what's like the longevity of a guy like that doing that? And, you know, he's had meniscus issues and he plays hard, but I think at a certain point, this is just my prediction for the next 15, 20 years. You get all these big players who are doing these great things. I think there's going to be a trend back to how centers were in the 80s and 90s, where you got these big guys in the post who aren't trying to be guards, because bodies are just going to break down. Like, you can't do it at that size. So I think we see it with Embiid. Hopefully we won't see it with Wembanyama or other players. But we're pushing the envelope in terms of what bodies can do. And maybe it's time to kind of go back a little bit and not be as athletic in certain positions.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. I could just imagine. I mean, if I'm cringing there, like, oh, dude, just sit that one out. You know, I can imagine how.
It's not worth it. Yeah. Yeah. Like, don't do that. Yeah, exactly.
But again, the competitiveness of an athlete, right? Kind of, they just want to play no matter what. You know, it's what they know how to do, and you can't really change them all that much. That's what they're going to do. But yeah, so you're going to be out there at Chase. I think you make it to a good amount of games, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to hit, you know, somewhere between 5 to 10 games this, you know, per season. Love going to Chase. Great environment, and yeah, definitely got tickets for the Clay. We're gonna try to go back to the Clay return game and several other games. I think it's gonna be an exciting season. Like you said when you're on with Danny, like just take it game by game and let the season unfold. I think it's gonna happen in front of us. We'll kind of take it as it comes.
Yeah, and are you, just because UCSF is all over the place near Chase Center, do you actually work near Chase?
I do, yeah, 2 days a week. Our clinic is right, literally like right down in Mission Bay area. So I'm there 2 to 3 days a week, and it's great. You finish up work, sometimes head over to the stadium, check out the Warrior shop. So it's a great environment on game day. Really see the energy. So it's a lot of fun.
Cool, man. Well, we'll be following you. And by the way, Dr. Pandya is a great follow on Twitter. So I'm going to put your handle on right now, Dr. Nirav Pandya. Did I pronounce that right?
You did. Yep. You got it perfectly right. Yeah.
There you go, guys. Be sure to follow him on Twitter and wherever else. You on Instagram or Threads?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Threads. It's at Dr. NK Pandya. So it's just my first two initials, NK Pandya. So you can, my Threads and everything, I'm out there. Just search my name. There's only one of me out there. So you'll see me.
Appreciate you, and keep up the great work, and look forward to seeing you on whatever it is, like radio stations, as well as, haven't you been on TV too?
Yeah, I do. ABC 7. I do after the game with those guys as well too. So yeah, I'm around during the season. So yeah, no, happy for everyone to watch me. Appreciate it.
Chris Alvarez and Abe Mendoza, two of my favorite guys at ABC. Yeah. So I'm glad you're with them. Appreciate you, and take care. And we'll see you, Chase.
Okay, take care. Thanks.
All right. That was cool, man. Dr. Pandya. Always on the radio, giving the latest. I mean, football is rife with injuries. So, whether it's 95.7 or whatever it may be, I think those are the ones he's been on. Wasn't able to get his Instagram handle. Dr. Pandya's IG Threads at DRK Pandya, DRNK Pandya, I think. I actually just did a thread that had him tagged, so I can just go look that up. Maybe. What happened to it? DRNK Pandya. Okay, folks. What do you guys want to talk about? I'm going to do a restroom break real quick. Restroom break, be right back, and then figure out what to talk about, and then figure out some other things. Let me do a present screen of our Discord. You never know, there might be something coming down the wire. Let's go look at the Discord and GSW feed right here. Heir to the throne. Congratulations, what do you call it? Shams. Congrats, Shams. Millions. Thanks, guys. Thanks for waiting. All right, let's see. Yeah, there's not much on the Discord feed, is there? Let's see. Yeah, not much at all. A few pictures from Steph. Oh, I want to see if Cassie got back to me. Cassie Athena. She did a picture, I think it was her, of LeBron James last night. And he posted it. So I wonder if it's yeah. I think she's the one that took LeBron James' picture that Clutch Sports put it as official. Pretty incredible. All right, we were talking about Clay. Let's see. Clay's clutch. Okay. Okay, yeah. So we can talk about Clay. There's literally nothing going on these days on any of the feeds for Golden State Warriors. Raw feed. What's going on in the world of the NBA? Let's go down. That's the thing with this, is there's no quick way of going down. Chiefs won. Any basketball? Connecticut Sun even the series. Sun versus Lynx. Ooh, that might be good to watch. Come to think of it. Oh, Jaden Hardy shined with Clay, Kyrie, and Luka not playing in the preseason. Jaden Hardy. By the way, not every team has a good behind-the-scenes reporter, but there's a lot of them. But not every team gets covered in this feed. Well, as far as Clay, ESPN milking the hell out of LeBron and Bronny. Thanks, Chilla. You know what I was thinking earlier today? Because I've been thinking a lot about Clay, and I do talk to somebody in Clay's camp fairly regularly, but it's not like I always get like inside information or anything. Like, it's not really we're friends. Like it's not like an Anthony Slater situation where he's got sources and stuff. Like that's not how it is. But Clay himself will come up in the conversation every now and then. And from what I've been told, so now we're getting to the juicy part. And yet, I can't really tell you all that much. But from what I've been told on Clay, like Joe Lacob and Steve Kerr, and maybe even Dunleavy, if you were in Clay's shoes, you'd probably be pissed. Let me put it that way, okay? It's like he was dealt a raw deal. I don't know what it was. I just know that it's just kind of like, trust me, dude. Like, if you were in his shoes, you'd feel a certain type of way. That would make you, kind of bitter, honestly. And you know me, I don't want anybody to be bitter about anything. And yet, okay, so the other thing that I started doing was I was like, well, maybe Lacob was already, you know, along the lines of whoever it was that was talking about Buddy Hield in the comments here. Scrolling up to see if I can find it. Was it King Corey? Dang, I can't find it. I'm scrolling up the StreamYard comments. There we go. So in this debate about commenters are saying if Hield can hit 40%, or Clay is irreplaceable. Like, I have analyzed the situation from many angles. I'm sitting there going, oh, maybe like Lacob knew that he could get Buddy Hield. Like, Buddy was already, you know, giving him the verbal, yeah, I'll come there and play for like $8.5 million, which is half of what Clay got, you know. And maybe Lacob was leaning that way, just from, you know, balancing the budget. And you know, you look at the Warriors cap table. If we go to last year, you know, you're just trying to envision getting these two assets off the board and then bringing in a whole bunch of other assets to replace them that cost way less. And so Lacob might be feeling good about himself, and he might be like, yeah, hell no, are we touching the first apron? Like, I want to be able to aggregate salaries. I want to be able to use a mid-level exception, and so on and so forth. So when I mentioned that, when I said, hey, look, as long as that is a possibility, as long as Lacob was doing things due to some motivation, and that motivation was the CBA with the first apron and the second apron, then I can't be bitter about it. And I'll just sit here and go, okay, well, if I were Clay, I would have done what Clay did. And if I were Lacob, I would have done what Lacob did. And then, but I keep getting the resistance from Clay's camp. It's just kind of like, no, you don't know what they were saying. It's like, all right then. I think the piece that's missing, guys, this is what I was trying to get to. Let me ask you this. What part of Clay may have been I called Wiggins the fulcrum. Let's call it the fulcrum. What part of Clay was the fulcrum, especially now that we've seen this new team that we have here? What part of Clay was really maybe the thing that people forget about, that was really the issue? See if you can guess. I'll give you like a minute since there's a delay. And then I can write the notes in here. 134 mark. What was the real impasse? Because Clay will always say it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the money. And yet, I mean, look, are we going to really like are we going to offer you $8.5 million? Like, you know, like, how do you describe that? I don't know how you describe that, but we're not going to offer you $8.5 million. You may say it wasn't about the money over and over and over again, or it's not about the money in present tense. You know, we're so-called in the middle of negotiations, although we read from Anthony Slater's article that Clay and Lacob went and had a golf outing and they didn't talk about any of this stuff. Clay was gone already. Like, it's like, are we really going to offer you what we offered Buddy Hield? You know, so that part of me, I side with Lacob. There might be another part of me that sides with Clay, where it's like, and I don't know if this really happened, but I'm guessing maybe it's like, oh well, we need you to come off the bench, and we need you to be a good soldier, and we need you to not hunt shots anymore. And Clay's sitting there going, you mean you want me to not be me anymore? You know, so I can see that. But what part of Clay I think is the real issue that for some reason nobody's really come out and said it. Just be blunt about it. Let's see. Any of you guessed it yet? Yeah, you're right. Clay is a proud man for sure. The 4 fingers. It's not the rings anymore. It's the 4 fingers. His body language. Good point. And I know Steve did stick with Clay, but these are all great comments. Let me do a screenshot over here in the YouTube version of this. Is answering Cholo's question. Yeah, we're deeper than last year. Yeah. Like Clay Sowerson. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so Bruce, to answer that one about the negativity and he wanted to be paid like he was the same. Clay's camp will always repeat that it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the money, but it was about the pride. Yeah, Kimbo, if you're being asked to come off the bench despite playing started. Yeah, that's the thing. So again, I think it's just that Clay is like driven to compete. He is driven to compete. And that's fine. You got to get to a point where you're not bitter and you accept people for who they are. And so that's the part where I'm okay with. But to answer the question, my own question, nobody's answered it yet. What is the real problem with Clay? Let me give you the answer. The real problem with Clay is, gosh, nobody can guess it. I'll give you 24 seconds. The real problem with Clay is blank. Was blank. And why he's no longer a Warrior. It's paper airplane. Cholo. It did not fly very well for Dallas. You want to see that? I'll show you how we can see that. This is what I'm excited about. You guys go ahead and answer the question, but where's my browser? Go to Discord. Go to the Clay section. Search on airplane in Clay. This is sick. This is what makes Discord so much better than any other platform. Well, Cholo, here is the video. Can you guys see this? Yes. Here's the video. Oh, it doesn't want to play. It's loading. Moody is better than Buddy. could be right. I totally forgot about Buddy when I was thinking about Melton. I was thinking that really the guy that Moody had to beat is Melton, not even Buddy. Well, this is deciding not to play, but he throws a paper airplane and it just goes backwards on him. So Cholo, you were right on that. It's not attitude, but that's a great guess. And it is Bruce. Of course, Bruce got it right. It's his defense. I mean, he doesn't have defense. He doesn't. You can't match a wing that plays power forward on the defensive end. You can't do that. It doesn't work. And that's the problem. But that's also the thing I didn't want to. If anybody from Clay's camp is watching right now, then, at least I didn't just say it in your face, because that would have been painful. But it's his defense. And let me take a screenshot first of all, because Bruce got the quiz right. Bruce always gets the quizzes right. And guess which team out there can get away with a couple backcourt players not playing defense, not playing great defense, because of the style that they play. What are the two teams? Or one team, obviously. It's the Mavs and the Lakers, the two teams that offered him a contract. So how many slumps did we have to go through? This is a good point. I would call that like the timing of it. So anyway, shoot eye lasers. I think it'll be fine. The Mavs will be fine. Yeah, but that's what I was thinking today when I was like thinking about all the complexities of Clay. The one thing that just, so in terms of the complexities of Clay, you can go, oh, well, Wiggs and Draymond got paid and the timing of that, and then Clay was next up and he didn't get it, but then Clay will come back and say, but it wasn't really about the money. And then you can go, okay, well, then we wanted you to come off the bench and be more humble and not hunt shots. And, you played pretty well for a few games there too. I know you yelled at some people too before that, but you got over that. And, overall you were playing actually pretty well towards the end of the season. And then he'll come back and go, well, I can't help it. I want to start. I want to play. I want to hunt a few shots, and I want to break the back of the opponent. And by the way, I get to do that now as a Maverick. I probably would have been able to do that as a Laker. I don't know if he would have started as a Laker because you've got to beat Austin Reeves on the depth chart, and Dalton Connect is looking pretty good too. So then you've got him in practice, or any back-to-back that you sit out. Dalton Connect's going to play, and maybe he'll have a good game and stuff like that. But like that, I can understand too. But the one thing that I think there's no rebuttal for is that your defense is not even average anymore to guard a wing in the NBA. And we saw you fall asleep on box outs. We saw you, once or twice per month. And during the season, I laughed about it, but I clipped the video for you guys. And also, he cannot play defense on the Mavs. He can't. They've got rim protection. They've got Derek Lively. They've got what's his name? Gafford, right? Like, that's the team that you like. Where the Warriors aren't the Mavs, and we're totally different style. And it evolved to a point where Clay's style doesn't match with us anymore, but it just so happens to match with the Mavs. And therefore, as long as the Mavs want you, you're going to think if the Mavs want me, then there's a whole lot of other teams that want me. Well, maybe the Lakers. Orlando didn't even want you. So, like, I think those are the dynamics going around. And at the end of the day, the way I look at it is like, it's like a divorce. Like, are we really going to nitpick every little thing? And, oh, you were wrong about this. Oh, no, she was wrong about this. No, you were wrong about that. But then you were right about this, and she was right about that, but was wrong about it. It's like, dude, let's not do this. We are dissecting a frog that's already been dissected. Like, there's no new information here. It's just going to go in circles and circles, and it's going to be like the Dr. Seuss characters that are at an impasse. In fact, let's go ask Perplexity about that. What are the Dr. Seuss characters that are at an impasse? Yeah, these guys. The Zacks. The Zacks are two characters. The north-going Zacks and the south-going Zacks. They're so stubborn that they refuse to yield to each other. Pride and inflexibility. That's Clay and Joe Lacob. But at the end of the day, the Warriors have evolved to a point where Clay can't really fit unless, like, what Clay does, it doesn't fit into this new evolution. And you can't stand still in the NBA. So it is what it is. And I think I have nitpicked this to death. So there's nothing else to be said. That's it. Everybody is happier now. Like, Clay went where he went, and the Warriors are going to do what the Warriors are going to do, or Joe Lacob's going to go where Joe Lacob wants the franchise to go. And just like Eric G said many times, you can't have Steph and Clay on the floor at the same time defending people. Just it's not going to work. So, what were these guys called again? North going Zacks and South going Zacks. Okay. What else we talk about? Let's go back to Discord. See if there's anything. Anything? Is this going to play? Or no? Just stuck. Check my activity monitor on my computer. Discord 650 megabytes. Oh my God. That's too much. GSW feed. Let's get rid of this. Well, this is awkward. Yeah, you crashed because you're 700 megabytes of memory being used. Oh, it's from Vern on football, and that's it. So nothing happening on the feeds for the Warriors. Well, it's a combination of this and many other things. There's so many things involved. It's not just one thing. It's all of them. It's just like a divorce. Oh boy. Anyways. Yeah. Got faith in the team. But yeah, Clay doesn't have to really stay in front of anybody when you've got Derek Lively or Gafford behind you. And by the way, PJ Washington's not too bad as well. And it's like, you know, boy, Warriors against Mavs is going to be a good one. Next live will be Wednesday for the game. Wednesday, October 9th, 7:15 p.m., 7:30 tip-off, GSW at Sacramento. That's going to be on ESPN and NBC Sports Bay Area. Oh my goodness. Okay, we got to put that up there. That means I got to go over to the Clay section over here and there we go. We need to get some red hats with MKGA on it. Makaga. Bruce is Makaga. Dang, Bruce. Hang in there, Bruce. All right. Oh, I'm glad, though. I'm glad Clay found a landing spot. He gets to start. It's okay if he doesn't play great defense. You know, when the playoffs slow down, I mean, look, if it was, I'll say something good about Clay right here. If it comes down to Mavericks-Sixers NBA Finals is a scenario where people might think Clay is a great defender because he's going to be at the power forward, though. He's going to be like in the key, you know, swiping away at the ball, knocking the ball out of Embiid's hands, or whoever plays the 4 on Philly. Who plays the 4 on Philly? Because they got rid of what's his face? Tobias. Philadelphia. Oh, the Kelly Oubre, Paul George, Andre Drummond. Clay switches on Andre Drummond, no problem. Can probably stay in front of Eric Gordon. Maybe not. I don't know. Like Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry is not going to bully ball Klay Thompson, you know. But then again, it's a lot to say the Sixers will be in the NBA Finals, so never mind that. But, you know, it's all matchups. It's all matchups based. Isn't it over Spencer Dinwiddie? Yeah, Clay's a small forward because it's Luka Kyrie, with Kyrie at the 2. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining us tonight to whoa. Something fell. Oh, okay. Thank you for joining us tonight to pass the time between, 2 days ago and the next game. Oh, Caleb Martin. Yeah. Yep. He's on the Sixers too. Forgot about that. That's a pretty good price too. $8 million. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Anybody on here? Anyone on this live stream who has been commenting good stuff? Feel free to email me at rich@letsgowarriors, and let's get you on that Discord server. Oh, Cholo's on Discord. Let's oh man, Bruce has got to go download movies. Jeez. Oh man. All right, so see you all on Wednesday, but let me give Cholo the power. Cholo, I'm about to give you the power. We're going to switch your role from regular to 4 rings, baby. Roles. Let's give you 2-way access first. Members. Cholo. Add members. I'm getting the hang of Discord finally. Oh, it's Ocho. Cholo Ocho. How interesting. Okay. Get ready, Cholo. I'm about to give you the power. You now have power now. So Cholo is checking his Discord app right now and is seeing that he's got all of these previously locked ones. Raw feed, Warriors feed, every post that I post down here for the public, and even some Let's Go Valkyries stuff. Yeah, email me, Pinky. and we'll give you some power. That way you never have to touch Twitter again. And it's a great feeling. Oh, it's so nice to just never have to open Twitter. Unless you want to like click on one of the, tweet links, like, the Instagram reel. Here you go. Here's the paper airplane that didn't happen.
Crispy lines. You don't want to strumple up your paper too much, and then you have a nice aerodynamic aircraft. First playoff plane. Oh my gosh! Watch out, people.
I need you to show me how to make a paper airplane.
Deal. You fold the paper in half. You take the tips, and you fold them down. This triangle-looking thing. Both sides. Fold the triangle.
Watch
You got the base of your plane right
This
here.
is so funny.
Base model of your aircraft. You fold this part to the edge right there. Get this flight pattern.
Yeah, does it fly?
Yeah. It's gonna hit this. Hit this blue. It's probably gonna go to the blue.
It's gonna hit this blue. It's gonna
Oh no, that was a bad take.
hit this blue. It's probably gonna
Okay,
go
that's
to
a
blue.
bad play. That's a bad play.
Yeah, that was funny. So again, if you're in Discord and I clicked on that one to get the Twitter. This will get you to Twitter, but it's actually their actual file in Twitter. You don't even have to actually go to Twitter. You don't need a Twitter account. I'm not logged into Twitter right now in this browser. It's beautiful. Discord is so good, and especially when I figured it out for you. And here's a Twitter handle. Let's see where it goes. Yeah, it just opens it up, and you get to see that particular tweet. It's James Harden. So you don't need to I'm not logged in to Twitter, right? It's beautiful. And then, some of these these are the actual video files. It's not even actually, you don't need a Twitter account. I love it. All right, then. See you Wednesday. Clay's, I know. Clay really messed that one up. All right. See you Wednesday. Appreciate you all. Have a good night and a good day. And everybody wish Bruce well as he survives the hurricane. Take care. See you Wednesday. And we'll skip the Just Us and Brate because I don't have the wrong computer here. So I don't have it already up. See you Wednesday.